Hey everybody, this is Perch. I'm going to take you on a little journey through this video. It's kind of a happy story, then a sad story, then a happy story again, but we'll get to it. So let me jump into this. I'm in Target the other day, and shopping around for reasonably priced bargain goods. No, I'm just in Target, and my kids are in the toy aisle, and they're checking things out. And by the way, do you remember the fuss that went on with Target? I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago, where the news media, I remember Fox went all in on this, and then CNN went all in on it as well. Of uh, Target was going to remove boys and girls labels for the toy aisle because you can't tell girls they can't play with GI Joes, and you can't tell boys they can't play with Barbie. And this was horrifying and everything else. So everybody was like, "This is the new, the left is trying to kill Santa Claus and Jesus," and it kind of went around and around. But anyway, we're in this Target, and sure enough, they've got boys and girls labeled up there. I don't know if it came back. I don't know if it never went away. But I was left looking at this, going, "Was this ever a thing to begin with?" It got people all worked up, but it's it. I don't know. Maybe Texas just operates in its own little timeline. I'm not sure. But anyway, so we're in the toy aisle, and my daughter comes running up to me and goes, "There's comics in here," and she knows I'm always interested in where comics are being sold. And her weird dad is always like taking photos in shops where there's comics. And so she takes me over, and on the end cap, now the end cap, if you're not familiar with what that means, it means the space at the end of an aisle. And typically, this is a highly coveted area in retail because it gets more foot traffic. People are passing by. So they put things that are a little bit more, they're trying to move to sell. Sometimes they put specials and promotions there. It's an area that a lot of companies fight for. And in some cases, companies will pay for, meaning they will actually purchase the in cap space, and the retail shops will sell that space as a premium location for advertising your goods. So on this end cap is a kind of cardboard display that has been set up, and they have comic. Lo and behold, there are comic books there, and it's DC, and they've got four comic books. They have Superman, Batman, The Flash, and Black Adam. And it was an interesting collection. I spent a minute just kind of marveling over the idea that Black Adam is now one of the featured characters. And then I had the other little thought of like, well, clearly, the Wonder Woman adventure is over in a lot of things. That either the second movie killed it, or who knows. But we're giving up on old Wonder Woman, or maybe it's because this whole thing was in the boys aisle of the toy store, or the toy section. Don't know, but regardless, there were these four comic books hanging in a little pack, and inside the pack, with a comic book, was a toy, and they called it a Page Puncher. And this Page Puncher, again, comic and action figure. And it reminded me briefly of, I know He-Man used to do this once upon a time with comics and toys. I think Marvel would do it. I remember anyway, a couple different groups in the past have tried this, comic plus action figure. And for what it's worth, the action figure, which if you look in the video, I've got the picture. The action figures are terrible. Like, these are some of the worst. No articulation. Basically, the arms move and the legs move, and it sucks. You would not be happy with this action figure, even if it was a long time ago. For some reason, I guess the torso moves as well, so you can kind of move them around. But anyway, they're crazy. Flash and Superman just look kind of stoic. Black Adam looks weird. Batman has a horrified look on his face, like he's just realized Tom King is writing his book. But anyway, so the comics were interesting that they picked. So for the Superman comic, you got the DC Rebirth #1 Superman by Gleason and Tomasi, is that comic. For Flash, you have the Andy Kubert, Jeff Johns Flashpoint #1. For Batman, you've got, and this is the smartest one, I think, the Jeff Loeb, Jim Lee first issue of Hush. And then, sadly, Black Adam gets kind of hosed. Black Adam gets the Black Adam Endless Winter Special that Ron Mars and I think Andy Lanning did. And nothing against that title. It's just if you're trying to pick up these characters and have kind of an iconic issue, Batman makes complete sense. Superman mostly. The Flash, I mean, it's the part of a big crossover that features alternate reality versions of DC characters. That's not the one I would pick for the Flash. I mean, absolutely the right one to pick is the No One Dies issue that Bill Loebs did. That is 100% the one you pick for the Flash. Anyway, and Black Adam, I would not pick the this comic that is part of an event. Um, I don't know, that was just a very strange choice for Black Adam, but whatever. The comic is priced at $10. This has something, McFarlane was involved somehow, which is kind of depressing. I think he was involved somehow. The action figures certainly don't look like it, but anyway, the whole thing is in a little plastic sleeve, and it's smart. Little action figure, comic. I was impressed. I thought this is somebody was smart today, and putting this together, and cool. Very 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 impressed. And so I posted on Twitter. I put the photos up and said, "Hey, this is kind of clever. What's being done here?" And I think it definitely was. Um, but then Otis Frampton, who I like a great deal. Otis Frampton, if you don't know him, he's the writer artist of Oddly Normal, Image Comics. Has done things for Marvel with Star Wars, I believe, and DC. And a solid guy, good head on his shoulders. I think great creator. Has some good stuff. He's on Substack as well, so you should go check that out. But anyway, I like Otis Frampton, always have, and so engaging with him in Twitter is like one of those nice aspects of Twitter, where most of it is just hellish bullshit, but every now and then you get to meet people like I started interacting with Ben Templesmith through Twitter, and then certainly Otis Frampton. Otis comes in with the negative view of this, and in fairness, he's 100% right, which is really um, why in the world, like, well, his exact comment: I wish comic companies would do this without adding the disposable Happy Meal toys to them. It's unnecessary. Comics can stand on their own. It used to be sold everywhere. The direct market is and always has been a cancer on the industry. So negative Nancy there with Mr. Frampton, but he is right. I mean, and kind of the observation here is, I think this is very smart. I think it's a good thing to do, and definitely the comics companies should be doing more of this. But it is super pathetic that we got to this state where comics have been so divorced from kids that they basically have to bait them with shitty toys and to get them to pick up comics. And the comics, the one that's going to do the best here is the Batman one, and the comic that you're picking is Hush from like over 20 years ago. Right? Was that 20 years ago? Maybe not quite 20 years ago. Anyway, you're picking an old ass comic. I mean, all these, the most recent one was Endless Winter, which was 2 years old. None of this is current continuity. Flashpoint, this is what, pre New 52. And then the Superman from Rebirth, all that money and hype you spent on Bendis, this amazing creator, and you're basically going back to Tomasi, who, the company can't even find the time to call back. So, I mean, but how pathetic is it that comic books have lost have gone so in on the direct market and lost the newsstand and lost the mass market, completely ceded it to, police dogs drawn incredibly crudely, and, comics from Japan featuring cultural elements that have no bearing on kids in the United States. But despite that, those two things have completely taken over. And so your only option now is to, kind of beg your way back into the mass market. And I'm glad they're doing it. And it's the right thing that they're doing it. But it is super pathetic that this is what it's come to. Super fucking pathetic that it's like, we've now got to, hope that you're in the toy aisle and you're looking at toys. And really that's what this is. It's like, hey, here's a big flashy comic book, and but you want this toy, so you want a Superman toy, and you get a comic. I mean, that's how this is going to be perceived by kids. And so I think they should do this because they got to get the kids back interested, and the hope is the kid buys this thing. The mom is like, hey, I'll buy some toys, but I feel bad because my kid isn't reading, so I'm going to get this, and hopefully my kid will read. And the hope is that the kid on the way back home from the store, tired of playing with this shitty toy, picks up the comic book, opens it up, and like, holy crap, look at this amazing Jim Lee Batman fighting all the iconic villains. This is really, I want more of this. Where do I get more? That's the hope. And it's a good strategy, and they should do that. But it really is an indication. So I as much as I hate what Otis wrote, he's 100% right. It is sad, and the direct market had its purpose. We've done videos about that. We've talked about it. But one thing it has done is put us into this state where now we have to bribe children with shitty toys to get them to buy comics in the hopes that they'll pick up comics, start reading them again, and build the market back up. So, like I said, happy story, kind of sad story, happy story. But anyway, what do you think of all this? You think this is successful? I think it's smart. I just think it's smart and kind of damning at the same time. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.